Hello, Shining Light. It is Kay Ishana with Sadhana Health and Wellness. I am out here looking at all of these pine cones that are here on the ground, and it reminds me of how pine cones relate to stress and anxiety. If you want to know how, let's jump in. Looking at all these pine cones, I'm reminded of a story of when I first started my spiritual journey. This was back in the early 2000s. And my spiritual teacher, Joyce Hovis at the time, told us a story about a little girl whose mother told her to go outside and pick up all the pine cones in the yard. Well, the little girl went outside with her sack, and when she looked at all the pine cones around her, she immediately lost it. She started crying. The job looked just astronomical to her. How was she going to pick up all of these pine cones and be ready for dinner and get her schoolwork done and have time to play, etc., right? Well, upon hearing her crying, her mother says, "Honey, you only have one thing to do, one and only one thing to do, and that's to pick up a pine cone and to put it in your sack. Take a step, pick up a pine cone, and put it in your sack." So that little girl picked up a pine cone and she put it in her sack. Then she saw another pine cone and she picked it up and put it in her sack. And then another, and then another. And before she knew it, the entire yard was free of pine cones and they were all in her sack. And she felt this sense of relief and this sense of pride upon completing her tasks. Now, we are not unlike that little girl, right? We have so many things that we are concerned about. What do I need to do today? What do I need to do next week? I've got all these things. I've got kids. I've got jobs. I've got cars. I've got bills to pay. I've got my mother to take care of. I've got my husband. I've got my children. I've got my wife. And we get bogged down with everything that we need to do. We're always in the future. And then we forget that there's only one thing that we have to do. We can only do one thing at a time. Okay? So I hear what you're saying. Oh, but we're in the age of multitasking, and to be successful, you have to learn how to multitask. In case you didn't know, if you've noticed people who are focused on one thing, when they become successful at that one thing, they move on to other ventures, right? Facebook. He focused on Facebook, right? He got Facebook. Facebook blew up. Next thing you know, there's Instagram. Next thing you know, we've got Amazon, and then they're flying off into space and doing all this other stuff. I guess they're bored. I don't know. Honestly speaking, but these entrepreneurs, these people who have become successful at something, got that way because they focused on one and only one thing at a time. So how do we do this? First of all, we used to have these little pine cones that we wore as necklaces that Joyce gave us. And whenever we were stressed out, I personally would just touch that pine cone and it would remind me that I only had one thing to do when I became stressed. So get yourself a talisman. It could be a necklace. It could be some Buddha beads. It could be a crystal. It could be something just so that you can look at in your day-to-day to remind you to come back to the present, to come back to center. Number 2, make lists, okay? Lists are incredible for getting done the things that you need to do, and you can prioritize the things that are more important, and the things that are less important, just work your way down the list. Check it off, and again, you'll feel that sense of accomplishment when you finished your list. And if you're one of those people who can't stand not finishing your list, well, roll it over, make a new list for the next day, okay? If you're one of those people who thrives on drama and being in the moment, well, maybe this video isn't for you. If you're just, you just love the grind, I'm talking about people who get stressed out and have anxiety when they are doing too much. And honestly speaking, it doesn't matter how successful you are. If you put your body through much, you are going to break down and you're going to have issues. Number 3, exercise and meditation. Maybe that's 3 and 4. Exercise relieves the excess tension that you have in your body, which in turn relaxes you so that you're able to meditate and have a calm peace of mind, be centered, and to be able to teach yourself how to stay focused, how not to let things bother you, how not to let things that normally would bring you out of your center to get to you. So, there is my video on how a pine cone can help relieve stress and anxiety. If you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the notification bell for more videos going forward. Peace and blessings, and we'll see you next time.